Thank you very much, Marco, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to make this presentation wearing another hat, and that's as head of the office. And what I'm presenting is some of the experiences we had in constructing the Independent Evaluation Office of UNDP, and the principles that we followed in order to get here as a sort of backdrop for the further discussion. So the IEO, in essence, it's functionally independent. It's guided by the UNDP evaluation policy. A critical element is that we report directly to and is accountable to the executive board, which comprises all member states. The mandate is to conduct independent thematic and programmatic evaluations, to prepare an annual report on evaluation. You'll see some copies out there, which describes the evaluative activities of the year, to also set standards and guidelines for evaluation, to monitor compliance on evaluation and share lessons. Before this conference, we had a workshop on the new policy, the new guidelines, and the purpose of that was to help the M&E officers across UNDP get more acquainted with the policy. And a key construct which links to why the I is there, the independent, we report directly to the executive board with oversight from the Audit and Evaluation Advisory Committee, as well as a quality assessment by the EAP. The office is $10.2 million in budget. We have 32 staff members from 23 nationalities speaking 26 languages. So we tried to make sure we had that element out. The directorate, we do country program evaluations, which is most of our work, corporate and thematic, capacity development section, the section that Heather is running, and of course the operations supports it. But the primary focus of the office, and for any evaluation office, is to make the organization or the country stronger. And that means having the following elements in place. You need to have sound evaluation systems and processes. You need to increase your evaluation coverage so there's adequate evaluative conversations, otherwise it's lost. You need to strengthen the decentralized evaluation. And even in the country level, it'll be your local. What does it mean there? Because that's where the real action is. And in terms of any SDG, your data has to come from the unit of analysis. We also focus on national evaluation capacity to advance the SDGs. This is the event we host, the largest evaluation event by government participation in the world, and has grown, and to ensure use. So I'll take you through a few elements. And if you see many policies starting from 2006 until 2019, you should be warned that to get a policy to where it is may take a decade. And each one is an iteration on the earlier one. So this journey started a long period of time ago, and of course, I joined in 2012. We had a review of the policy. We adopted new evaluation policy in 2016. And just last month, the executive board approved the latest evaluation policy, which removed any ambiguity around independence, increased the budget, and gave us a specific role at the decentralized level. So as it rolls out, the IEO will have offices across the globe, reporting directly to the IEO director, and that will increase the oversight and coverage. And the elements of that you will see in this and the other paper. A key element here, of course, is the issue of the budget. Most significant change in the latest policy. We moved from 0.2 to 0.3% of combined resources. Having a percentage for evaluation office is fundamental, whether it's pinned on government, etc. If you don't have a percentage, automatically over time you'll lose all the money and the office will get removed. And we have found that the percentage is important. Now, the other element is, in the United Nations Evaluation Group, our norms and standards gives a range between 1 to 3%. So UNDP is at 1%, and of the 1%, 0.3% is to the IEO. And of course, in decentralized, we look at regional offices, we look at the participation and recruitment of independent evaluations, we assess the quality and utility of evaluations, those results are out in the annual report, independently, and of course support capacity building in this regard. Now, who oversees the Independent Evaluation Office? 3 levels. Firstly, it's the executive board, the 32 members representing the broader lot. And it's the custodian of the policy. It approves the evaluation plan, it approves the financing, and it is consulted in the recruitment of the director of the office. So whilst a professional function, the board had a very important oversight role to play. We then have an Audit and Evaluation Advisory Committee, which we report to 3 times a year. It's been a very important structure because it brings together the audit and evaluation professions. And what we do is we engage with them, but we are not accountable to the structure, but we engage, and they are actually an advisory. And of course, an element that has been most useful in the transformation we engaged in has been the construction of an international evaluation advisory panel. You need to bring in the intellectual strength from around the world to advise your work. And for the 6 years that I've had a panel, they have helped me to move the office from where it was to where it is, largely moving from an office that contracted evaluations to third parties and consultants to one that now conducts it. So every evaluation is signed by me in name. So we do the work, we do the evaluation. We still use consultants, but in a secondary and tertiary role. But the responsibility is the office, and that's been a major shift internationally. We have also dispelled the notion that in order to get independence, you need to outsource it. No, you don't get independence that way. Independence is through a whole lot of other measures, and having this good juncture where we're part of the organization, but are functionally and structurally independent has been very, very useful. Now, coverage. We work around the world. 114 independent country program evaluations. Every one of UNDP countries, so 170, before it goes to a new country program, the IEO evaluates it. And those evaluations are on the website. This year we are covering 39. And the moment it's done, it's signed, we debrief, it's there. We've made 1,185 recommendations, 2,500 key actions were planned, and 1,728 key actions have been completed. All this information is in the public domain on the website. Everyone can see how it is being. Transparency is the key element of evaluation. So we do cover the globe. For 2018, 2019, we evaluated $7.1 billion US. These are the countries we worked in, 14, and then it shot up to 40 this year. The reason for that is the board said we must have 100% coverage. We were at about 15 to 20. I keep talking about coverage. If you don't do enough evaluations in your country or at whatever unit, you will not create a critical mass for an evaluative conversation. Why do we do so many country program evaluations? Because we pick it up into thematics. So type of work that the office does, it looks at disaster risk reduction and climate change, support to middle income countries, private sector finance, conflict prevention, small grants programs, the full portfolio. And on the basis of the huge country program evaluations, we engage in meta-analysis. Once again, in the public domain. We present the corporate evaluations directly to the board. We have a management response, and that is accepted. The country program evaluations, I present to the governments around the world. So once it's done, because the evaluant is UNDP, we present, we have all the stakeholders, we have a virtual workshop, we come to the end conclusion, and I sign it off as the director. And there's been a high appreciation for the country program documents because they're independent, they're rigorous, they're credible, they have qualitative and quantitative data. Which brings me to the key issue of quality. If you're independent, it doesn't mean you drop quality. Quality is fundamental. Your credibility is based on quality. And when I joined, I constructed an evaluation advisory panel of eminent persons from around the world, and they have basically been my think tank, walking with me in this journey that I've been in the office for the last 8 years. From the continent, I've got Rashid Ben Mukhtar, Bagela Chalisa, Zenda Ophir, and the other members all are very eminent thinkers, writers, teachers in evaluation. So IEO has been very lucky to have the best minds in the world advise it on its strategy, and they review every evaluation before and advise me before I sign it out. Quality. Over the 6 years, I call it my cloud, my evaluation cloud, because they rain on me, knowledge. We've had 18 high-level events, 6 meetings. We have had 5 NEC conferences. They've advised on it. You would have seen in the OECD DAC, we had Professor Bagela, who was a respondent. We've had 3 external conferences, 165 inputs to evaluations. Every evaluation goes through the system, right? The numbers are quite huge. And of course, the diagnostic tool that was presented by Vijaya, they have advised on that. The corporate evaluations by Alan Fox was presented. And these are, and of course, the conferences have been advised by this panel from the intellectual point of view, because they are luminaries in their own rights. They are journals, editors of the evaluation journals, authors of the evaluation books, and people who are in the academia and in the practice. So I would advise you, even at a country level, bring in the academia, bring in the think tanks to help you build your methodological basis, because if you have that credibility, you will have better quality evaluation. You're more likely to get the evaluations received well. My point again, independence does not mean you drop the quality. Of course, you'll see we're from all over the world. We have a very diverse office. And of course, we've entrenched independence in the period. If you got independence, you're more credible. You can access the constituencies, and you also can debrief with greater authenticity. One of the great dangers evaluation units have in ministries is they're perceived as part of the politico. And when they present any material, it gets contested. Currently, you know the debate on independence around the world. Okay? You know, whose truth matters, etc. So we moved, and we also changed the name, because it really, to entrench the point, from evaluation office to independent evaluation office. It makes a huge difference when we access communities around the globe, because they want to know whether they can trust you. They want to tell their story, not to the organization, but to a third party of the organization, for confidentiality and for knowing that the story will go up. It's an important distinction. We changed the model from consultant-led to professional-led. My staff do the work, I sign off, teams go around the world at any one time. We're in 40 countries this year. It's made a huge difference. You develop a group think, full coverage, and of course, we also are supporting the UN reform needed in the context that we have here. Now, let's look at the element of quality assurance. The elements I'd like you to consider is the reason you want to have a quality assurance. You will have a vision for your ministry, you'll have the contributions, and you'll have implementation. But there is an element of independence. How do you advise on policy and other issues? But a key issue is methodological and the reports. So the ICPEs that we have right now, every single one of them is in a completely different methodology. They ask us, what's your unit of analysis? Where's your data? How did you extrapolate? How do you move from findings to conclusions to recommendations? Their job is to be critical. They are not consultants to me. They serve me, the director's advisory. Right? So it's important to really get and bring in the academia, the civil society, all the think tanks that you can get to help us in our work. We don't have all the answers. And of course, that has really helped to advance significantly. I see a lot of M&E officers from the regions are still here. After 10 years, we replaced the yellow handbook with the new guidelines. It's on the website, translated in all languages. And the administrator and I jointly launched it. The idea of the guidelines is really to help people, we've got it in different sections, help the evaluators, the M&E officers, conduct better evaluation, to know how it functions, how it works, what's the roles and responsibilities, and how to do the assessments. You need to invest in your evaluators, whether they're M&E or E. If you don't, they will not be at cutting edge in terms of the work. So we have just completed around the globe now this training. Feel free to download the guidelines. They're in all the languages. They're interactive. And our whole purpose is not just to produce evaluations. You need to build the basis. And a lot of investment we have done on the professional dimension in this regard. Communication. Your thick reports are highly unlikely to be read. You need to have the main report, and you need to customize it. We're in the era of social media. So for a report, we have videos, infographics, visualizations, newsletters. It doesn't mean you have a less credible report. You need to make your messages into bite sizes. When we debrief in countries, we debrief in the language of the country, my office. Right? It's an issue of accessibility, it's an issue of respect. But over and above that, when we talk about the outreach and products, we've invested a lot in communication. So you'll see the references in my PowerPoint. The whole field of brain science. When you are presenting evaluative results, you cause tension. People get nervous. And there are skills and techniques that you need to have, and we have invested in that in IEO, on how to communicate in a way that the evaluand, the subject of evaluation, does not feel in the box, they do not feel defensive, and that you almost co-create so that they feel part of it, not compromising your messaging. And it is a journey, it's not easy, it can be quite difficult to have resources in here. So I've also trained my staff, apart from methodology on that, on how to communicate with greater empathy and in a much more sophisticated way, because research had indicated that adults in particular do not like to be assessed. Right, if you think about it in your school days, they don't take kindly to it. And especially if you're high up in the hierarchy, you tend to get a bit, it has to be done. We have to shake up the waters. But the way you couch, the way you frame, as best you can, do so. It will not solve all the problems, but it will assist in some regard. So I've included here a rich set of resources, links, etc., of the work that the office has done, also in terms of multimedia. And please, feel free to give us whatever feedback. It's been a pleasure to fully transform the office from where it was, because we really believe evaluation makes a difference. A better UN evaluative function is a better world. Thank you for your attention.